I hesitated. That was the part one hadn't been ready to say out loud. That was the truth sitting heavy in my chest, pressing forward with every beat of my heart. It felt like something alive, something restless, trying to claw its way out, but I kept it pinned behind my ribs for as long as I could. Not because I wanted to hide it from her, not because she didn't deserve to know, but because saying it meant accepting it. And accepting it meant I could no longer pretend I wasn't already standing on the edge of something far bigger than both of us. For a moment, the world shrank around me. The small courtyard. The metal gate. The fading sunlight draping itself over the walls. Even the quiet hum of the neighborhood, someone watering plants, children arguing over a cricket ball, a pressure cooker whistling from far away faded into a dim, distant noise. All I really saw was Amara. She stood still, watching me with that soft, serious look that rarely surfaced. Not the teasing Amara, not the sarcastic, quick-witted Amara who loved catching me off guard, not the light-hearted girl who made everything feel less heavy just by showing up. This was the version of her that appeared only when something mattered deeply, painfully, honestly mattered. Her head tilted slightly to the right. Her brows drew together just a little, not in suspicion but in concern. Her lower lip pressed inward like she was silently holding back a dozen questions she had the right to ask. That quiet seriousness of hers usually made everyone else uncomfortable, but not me. With her, even silence felt like a conversation. "What is it?" she asked softly. A simple question. Light as a feather. But in my chest, it hit with the force of a hammer. I swallowed. My throat felt dry, like I'd been walking through a desert for days. My fingers flexed around the ring box I still held in my hand, tightening, loosening, tightening again. My heartbeat thudded hard enough that I could feel it against the thin cardboard of the little box. I wanted to speak. I wanted to tell her everything. But the words tangled up in the back of my throat like they'd grown roots there. She took half a step closer. That tiny movement alone was enough to knock the air out of my lungs. Her dupatta brushed lightly against her arm, lifted by a faint breeze. The scent of jasmine, her scent, moved toward me in a soft wave. Or maybe it wasn't jasmine. Maybe it was just the way my brain processed the feeling of her being so close. "You hesitated," she said quietly. Not accusing. Not demanding. Just observant. Like she always was. "I know," I whispered. It came out barely audible. I looked down at the ring box in my hand, then at her, then back again. My fingers trembled. I wished they wouldn't. I had always hated the idea of looking weak in front of anyone, but with her, weakness felt like truth. And I had run from truth long enough. "It's not about the ring," I managed to say. "It's not just that." Amara blinked slowly, waiting. She did that sometimes, gave silence time to work, to pull out the things a person was trying to bury. With her, silence was never awkward. It was a doorway. I drew in a shaky breath. "If I say it," I murmured, "then it becomes real." Her expression softened even more, impossibly so. Some things are real long before we say them. I forced myself to look up at her. She wasn't mocking me. She wasn't pushing. She was inviting me to trust her. And maybe that's what scared me the most, how easy it was becoming to do exactly that. What if saying it changes everything? I asked. She exhaled, slow and steady. What if not saying it changes everything too? That hit harder than I expected. I felt the weight in my chest shift. Move. Crack open a little. I stepped back, not to distance myself from her, but to inhale properly, to let my shoulders drop. My heartbeat stumbled, then steadied, then stumbled again. "I wasn't ready for this," I said. "For any of it." Her brows softened. But she didn't speak. She didn't interrupt. She knew I wasn't finished. I lifted the ring box slightly, not offering it to her, just showing her. This. I thought I could keep it simple. Just a ring. Just a moment. Just something I had to do. But then I stopped. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes didn't move away from mine, not even for a second. "You changed the picture," I whispered. The words had been buried inside me for weeks. Maybe months. And saying them aloud felt like pulling a thorn out of skin, sharp, painful, releasing something I hadn't realized was stuck. Amara's lips parted, her breath catching just slightly. The softness in her eyes deepened. How? She asked, voice low. I shook my head, almost laughing at the simplicity of the question. By being you. A tiny smile curved at the corner of her mouth, small, fragile, uncertain. I'm not trying to change anything. I know, I said quickly. That's what makes it worse. She frowned lightly, confusion flickering across her face, but not the irritated kind. The tender kind. The kind that waits for clarification instead of demanding it. I didn't expect you to matter, I said. Not like this. Not in a way that makes everything else complicated. Her eyes widened by a fraction. Just enough to show the impact of the words. I continued, the confession tumbling out now, unstoppable. I thought this ring was just a responsibility. Something clear. Straightforward. Something I could manage without feeling anything. And now? Now everything feels like a mess, I admitted. Because every time I look at this ring, I remember who it's for. And every time I look at you, I paused, I forget. She inhaled sharply. The silence between us grew heavier, not tense, not hostile, just full. Like it needed space to breathe. Her eyes softened again, but differently this time, warmer, more emotional, tinged with something I didn't dare name. Her fingers twitched at her side, like she wanted to reach out but wasn't sure if she should. Is that why you hesitated? She asked. I nodded. Slowly. Yes. Another gust of wind brushed past, lifting a few strands of her hair. They danced across her cheek, catching the sunlight like threads of gold. Without thinking, without planning, I raised my hand and gently tucked them behind her ear. She didn't move. Didn't flinch. Didn't pull away. Her skin was warm beneath my fingertips. God, that made the truth inside me push harder. I don't want to ruin anything, I said softly. Not for you. Not for her. Not for myself. But I also can't pretend this isn't happening. Not anymore. And what is happening? She whispered. I exhaled, the breath shaky and uneven. I'm starting to care. Her expression changed, not dramatically, not obviously, but subtly. Carefully. Like something inside her had shifted, even if she wasn't ready to show how much. She didn't speak for a long moment. And during that moment, I watched her. Really watched her. The way her chest rose and fell. The faint tremble of her lower lip. The slight tightening of her jaw, like she was steadying herself from the inside. Finally, she whispered, you should have told me sooner. I know, I said. But I was scared. Of me? No, I shook my head. Of what admitting it would mean. She stepped closer until only a few inches separated us. The warmth of her presence sank into me like sunlight through a window. Sometimes, she murmured, the things we fear most are the things we needed all along. My heartbeat stumbled again. Her hand rose slowly, hesitant, unsure, and rested lightly on my wrist, right where I was holding the ring box. The touch was soft. Barely there. But it was enough. You don't have to decide anything today, she whispered. But don't run from what you feel. Not with me. I swallowed hard, the lump in my throat finally dissolving. I'm not running, I said. Not anymore. And for the first time, the weight in my chest lifted, just a little, just enough for me to breathe again. If you want, I can continue part 2, or make 5 photo prompts for this part as well.